Good afternoon and welcome to the CleanTech Lithium PLC investor presentation. Throughout this recorded presentation, investors will be in listen-only mode. Questions are encouraged and can be submitted at any time using the Q&A tab situated on the right-hand corner of your screen. Simply type in your questions and press send. The company may not be in a position to answer every question it receives during the meeting itself. However, the company will review all questions submitted today and publish responses where appropriate to do so. Before we begin, I would like to submit the following poll. And I would now like to hand you over to Dr. Aldo Boitano, CEO. Good afternoon.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Always a pleasure to have a webinar. It be presented by me. I'm the CEO of CleanTech Lithium and our executive chairman, Steve Kessler. Again, very excited to tell you all the news, and I'll pass it to Steve, who will start the presentation.
Okay, first of all, we are CleanTech Lithium. Now, CleanTech Lithium means that what we intend to do is produce green, sustainable lithium into the European and US markets. Now, that's because as the major economies want to decarbonize their total economy, they also want to see the supply chain of the materials going to those batteries also sustainable. And in contrast to the hard rock mining and evaporation ponds, we intend to produce lithium in a green and sustainable way. We have a number of projects in Chile. Two of them are advanced, Laguna Verde and Francisco Basin. We have scoping studies out on both. There's a combined NPV of $3 billion, combined resource of 2.7 million tons, projected 40,000 tons a year lithium carbonate production capacity. So two significant projects. And then we have two exploration projects, which Aldo will also cover in greater detail. When I talk sustainable, I mean we're applying technology direct lithium extraction, which means that we will extract lithium from the brine, return the brine back underground, so we will have no depletion of water from the aquifer. We intend to use renewable energy, so we'll have next to no or very low carbon dioxide emissions. And because we're not a hard rock mine, we have no evaporation ponds. Our geographical footprint, our environmental footprint is very, very small. We're making good progress. We have a DLE pilot plant coming to site. It's being erected at the moment and will be commissioned during the quarter of this year. As I said, we intend to produce a premium lithium product, which we hope to eventually get premiums in the future for the markets in Europe and the United States. We are a junior company, but we've had a number of major potential partners already engaging with us, getting very interested in the project. It's been our strategy as a board not to give away offtake agreements or not to give away shareholding in the company too early in the process. We've always said we intend to complete the pre-feasibility study of Laguna Verde, demonstrate the technical proficiency of the process with the pilot plant, and get permitting underway, so we can maximize the value before we engage with strategic partners. As you all know, Chile is a favored place for lithium. There's the largest reserves in the world. Chile used to be the first producer in the world. They've been overtaken by Argentina, by Australia. Argentina is growing very, very rapidly. But the present government wants to regain its position as the world's leading producer of lithium. It's announced a national lithium strategy. And as part of that, they've been very, very strong in saying that they approve of mining development, they approve of lithium expansion, but it must be done in a sustainable way. And they wish to see direct lithium extraction being applied to the brine projects in Chile in the future, and not the evaporation ponds. The way that we've been talking about DLE in country to government and local community, we've seen very strong local community support. And it's not just that they see jobs and income coming from services, but they're seeing mining being done in a sustainable way in the future, which is very important. We have a very strong board that's been involved in the delivery of large-scale projects. Looking at the company, we listed on AIM only in March last year. We've gone a long way since then. We did the initial raise and then a secondary raise in November last year for a total of about £20 million, 20 million pounds, which has gone into the project development. The board and management hold about just under 20% of the project. We had a natural resource fund in Australia. Regal came in on a pre-IPO round at 10%. They stayed in there on the IPO at 10%, but they are so keen on the project and its potential that when we did the secondary raise in November last year, they increased their participation close to 15%. So they are very, very supportive shareholders. We have a number of other institutions in the shareholder base. Currently, we have a market cap just under 60 million pounds. We have our two joint brokers, our Canaccord Genuity and Fox Davis. They've both had very extensive analyst reports on the company, and both have the company has very strong buy with Canaccord £2.95 target, Fox Davis £4.45 target. That Canaccord target is only based on our first project of Laguna Verde. When I say we have a very strong board, I came on board as chairman last year and stepped up to executive chairman earlier this year as we're starting to move much stronger in project development and going into strategic partner and offtake discussions. My background has been in the mining industry my entire life, with all the majors, Rio Tinto, BHP, Billiton. In particular, I've had almost 30 years of experience in Chile, leading the growth of Escondida into becoming the largest copper mine in the world, and then the first CEO of Collahuasi, bringing that into production, the second largest copper mine in the world. I've also been a CEO of ASX-listed lithium company, which is now in other hands. Aldo's CEO has got tremendous management experience, in particular in the renewable energy sector, where he's been responsible and participant in deploying 800 megawatts of renewable energy in Chile. Gordon Steen, CFO, many years of experience on the LSE, both main board and AIM and energy and natural resources projects. We're very pleased to bring on to the board Maha Dawoodi a few months ago. Her expertise is in commodity marketing and trading. She held a senior management position at Trafigura, where she was responsible for global marketing and trading of copper and zinc. Lots of experience in China as well, and putting in place offtake agreements and strategic partner relationships. With the aim of listing on the ASX, we need a resident director in Australia, and Tommy McKeith has joined the board. His background is geology. He led the internationalization of goldfields worldwide, and particularly into Australia. He stayed in Australia. He's been a chairman and director of a number of mining companies in Australia, and he's currently a director of Evolution Mining. With me going to executive chairman, Jonathan Morley-Clerk takes up the position of senior independent non-executive director. He's Jersey-based and has tremendous experience in financing, financial controls, capital raisings. So we have a very, very strong board.
There's not only a strong board, but also a very strong team in charge in all the operational delivery. You probably, if you've seen previous presentations, there's a lot of new names and more people on various fronts. Just want to stress out, not detaining every one of them, stress out their capacities. This first line of employees and management is seconded, is helped by local consultants, and on top of that, international consultants, worldwide class companies who help develop the project. You can see also that we stepped up the corporate relations side, the community relations. We'll touch base later on that. Steve mentioned at the beginning all the work we've been doing with the government and at the local level and the national level in the various permittings and advancing the projects forward. Steve already mentioned that there's two flagship projects and the combined resource, the combined production, that's Laguna Verde and Francisco Basin. Again, more than 2.72 lithium resource, and more that supports each one of them at 20,000 ton per year production. We've touched them in detail as we go on the presentation. The two flagship projects, again, are Demara and Salar de Atacama. We'll touch with them as we go forward. The combine of the first two projects who are at the feasibility stage, scoping studies, it's over $3 billion of net present value. The importance of being powered by clean energy and minimizing water loss. Steve touched on my bio on my work on the renewable energy sector. Chile is one of the countries who's gone most than everyone growing on the renewables, and it's more than 50% now of the output of the system. We are working and already again with our team and local and international consultants on agreeing on a 100% renewable energy power purchase agreement. That's what PPA stands for, a 24/7. Direct lithium extraction it's very important. Again, Steve will touch later on this, mentioning at the beginning of the not affecting the subsurface aquifers and how that is done. But also we're working on minimizing the water loss in the basin. The importance is that we control those basins where our two largest projects are, or the more developed projects, Laguna Verde and Francisco Basin. So it's been on the news, and it's been also with a recent update on the market, how we presented the CEOL, that's a contract of lithium operation, or even an accurate translation is operating contracts. It's not a surprise that Chile has it's an historical and stable mining production. Mining industry is one of the most prestigious jurisdictions, along with Australia and Canada, on mining. There's a lot of free trade agreements and specifically on lithium space agreements. The government, the president itself has gone abroad and work at various fronts. But more importantly is the United States, who has a free trade agreement with the US and is requiring that over time all the critical materials have to come from especially lithium, from the US and those countries who have free trade agreements. And Chile is the only one in that space. The government is pro-DLE. It's been announced as the National Lithium Strategy. We were the ones who started the earliest in 2017 when I co-founded the company with the idea of being a sustainable producer of lithium. Again, my background is on mountaineering. First achieved this and went to these places in a different role, but I see no conflict on doing it well, and the government it's aiming to preserve these places, these pristine places, and at the same time produce lithium to help the world moving into electromobility and decarbonization. So we presented the first two CEOs as a private company. It's been well received by the government, and that's why we have also consultants, and we have people employed in key roles in the company to keep touching the government at a local and at a national level. There's been going conversations both at the Senate level, Parliament level, and the government on easing the investment in Chile by speeding up the parts of the permitting. And again, this is an opportunity for CLEANTECH to go forward. We offered, when we have ourselves, to invite Enami, who is one of the two special vehicles the government created for the government to partner in a minority way with companies like us. Again, well received. We presented this operating permits 100% owned by us. There's no participation of the state, and it's a small minority participation if they come in and we keep the conversations. Again, tax benefits, active foreign investment program. So the most advanced projects are Francisco Basin and Laguna Verde. We've been noticing the market with everything. A key thing that you'll see in the near term is the DLE pilot plant. We're already constructing that, and we'll be producing 1 kilo of lithium carbonate per month. We've done a lot of work with various vendors. Steve will touch that later on, how we're progressing on that front. The PFS of Laguna Verde will be an advancement for the over the scoping study that you have seen, or you can download it, the RNS from our website or the AIM market. It's further de-risking the project, and we're also working on and past that we'll work on a more the final feasibility study to be able to construct and produce in Laguna Verde in 2026. Both projects have been going on environmental impact studies, and we've been progressing and involving the communities, again, local and national level, accredited companies who are going us with this trip on being on production. We mentioned the power, but then we have to go on Francisco Basin, who's like a year behind Laguna Verde, simultaneous drilling for 2 campaigns. I'll go in details on all those things, but what are the news that you should expect? Again, the updated resource from this upcoming campaign, the environmental impact assessment moving forward, all the permitting, the power purchase agreement, and again, to be in production, have all the permitting 2026, Laguna Verde 2027, Francisco Basin. The Seoul timing, it's a 6 months process. In the past, we've been approved at the various stages of that, and the government changed. And again, we're inviting the government to engage with us. Let's take the project since you last saw it. We updated the resource on Laguna Verde based on the finished drilling campaign. That also brought us forward more information about the project with an updated resource. We have a paved highway that goes all the way from the project into the port of Caldera. There's a renewable grid energy. There's good access to water. That brings us a lower capex than a lot of companies who are also aiming for 20,000 ton per year production. All the infrastructure in place. We're the only, one of the only, if not the only company doing a hydrological pump test in the basins. Again, it's key that you control the basin. You can see our license that we control the whole basins. By the way, the application for Seoul, it's a rectangle that encompasses everything in the basin under our mining rights. We're going to start with a well-known company who's doing projects around the world, Celandes, on the first quarter on brine reinjection test further over what we've been doing initially. The numbers of the scoping study are out. It's 20,000 year production, more than 30 years. The net present value is 1.83. There's a big net cash flow. Steve will touch on finance, but that will help us finance the growth of the other projects on the company. It's a little less than $400 US, the capital cost, and it's all coming in now into the PFS, who we're working with. Again, another prestigious firm that is Worley. The low operating cost, the OPEX is below 4,000 meters per ton of lithium. Francisco Basin, again, it's 1 year behind Laguna Verde. It's 0.9, 900,000 tons of lithium, enough to sustain, again, a 20,000 year production. The grades and everything. Remember, this was a new discovery that we added into the world of lithium and resources and reserves on the world, future reserves. In 2022, we had very good positive tests, And again, if Laguna Verde, the energy specialist is nearby, this is just within 3 kilometers away from the substation of Maricunga mine, and water to us, Francisco, as Laguna Verde, it's there within our basin, and the use of it is very low. The Scopy study released, like I just mentioned and Steve mentioned in the beginning, it's a 20,000 ton per year production that sustains more than 12 years. Again, we're starting fairly soon as the winter allow us to go in there with the next drilling campaign. Payback is similar. The capital cost is a little bit more. The OPEX is less. Similar numbers, and the combination is over $3 billion on the net present value. Why a low operating cost? Again, I mentioned it due to the existing infrastructure. You can have a breakdown here. You can download this presentation from our website. But energy and reagents, and again, Steve will touch on the importance of and the details of direct lithium extraction. But the use of renewable energy instead of the sun, that means that you're depleting the subsurface aquifers in the likes of Albemarle and SQM or Salar de Atacama and other projects in Argentina, in Salar de Hombre Muerto, who are evaporation ponds, means a higher energy, the reagents, the resins that we're using, but then we're competitive with the operating cost of those projects. What it's coming up, we also inform the market on Yamará. We've been doing, on top of the historical information on the what you see at the bottom, the low resistivity or high conductivity that we acquire over previous works, and we've done our own in this basin and geophysics. We have hit some of this brine. We're keeping on the exploration program, and we aim to go deeper and find a higher grader of lithium and everything. Let's just remain that we find gas. Well, the government drilled for many years. We found gas, and that had us move to another location. So looking very good. It's a large license area. And then Salar de Atacama, the richest salar in the world, 45% of the reserves. We acquired a very important 337 license area. It's an important part of the production in the world. We have all these licenses registered. We have a preference. We have a very good, prestigious land management system and company that help us. And we're aiming to begin the technical work. And as to all our projects, we've been consulting with the local communities, involving them from an early stage in an early engagement. Well, this is aligned again with the government priorities. We tick all the boxes. Produce lithium in a sustainable way. We're listed on AIM, especially to serve the U.S. and European market with the more strict requirements. We're scaling up DLE to produce this 40,000 tons per year in the combination of the two more advanced projects. Reiterate that it's production for 2026, and we have the resource, and we're looking past the PFS stage on strategic partners. Steve, Maja, Johnny, the whole board, and myself are going to be involved in that with various companies who've been approached by us. We have NDAs in place, can tell you more, but they've been talking to us, visiting site, doing initial due diligence, etc.
Okay, and if we stay on that slide and discuss.
Yep, sorry, I moved it. There it is.
And discuss funding. I know we've had a number of questions in previous webinars when we've been asked, well, how are we going to fund the construction of these projects when we've got Laguna Verde, estimated capex from last year was 400 million, Francisco Basin 450 million. That's $1 billion of capex. The reality is we're taking these one project at a time. Laguna Verde, capex of $400 million or so. It's strongly cash generative. Now, even though people have seen the lithium price come down, it's only come down to what we're forecasting our long-term lithium price, the $22,500 a ton. These projects are very strongly cash generative, and they will support a high degree of debt. So we're expecting probably 60 to 70% of the capex can be funded by commercial banks and also multilaterals. Certainly in places like Europe, there are the banks like KfW in Germany. They are very keen to support local industry and having their supply of strategic minerals. I've had discussions with KfW. They made proposals that they can provide 25% of the contract value in debt to the project. So if you take, let's say, a sales contract, 8,000 tons a year of lithium carbonate into Germany for 8 years, that's $64 billion, and 25% of that, you're looking at being able to to finance almost the entire amount of the debt just from import credit finance. It's exactly the same in the United States, where the motor manufacturers require IRA compliant material going into their batteries. Even though there's no direct support from EXIM, it's clear that the motor manufacturers will be keen to provide support to projects. We've seen General Motors providing $750 million of finance for the Thacker Pass project in the United States. So we expect to see strategic partners coming forward with the long-term finance that's going to be needed. And we have a choice. We could do one project first, Laguna Verde, and from the cash flow from that finance the next project, Francisco Basin. It may be there's such a strong demand for lithium and strong financing capability, our potential strategic partners would like to do both projects almost simultaneously. So we have options there. Strategic partners, we have the motor manufacturers out there, the battery manufacturers, the commodity traders, industry partners, all getting into this space, all wanting to secure lithium supply. If they don't have secure lithium supply, they have no batteries, they have no cars. So it all stems back to all of these players want to secure supply of lithium. And we're taking our time to get into discussion, substantive discussions with who we think are going to be good partners. And we'll time that when we have a good position for ourselves. That's completion of the pre-feasibility study of Laguna Verde. We have results from our pilot plant to demonstrate we make good quality lithium carbonate and or lithium hydroxide. And we've gone well advanced into getting the operating contracts from the government. That is the time that we will enter in substantive discussions with the strategic partners to get maximum value for our shareholders. I've given examples in the past of typical projects I've done in Chile, in the past, Escondida and Coyahuasi, where a strategic partner comes into the project, not into the corporate, comes into the project, 10, 12% equity participation, which it pays very good value for that, and then contributes to the debt financing on its own balance sheet, but also corrals its relationship banks in the country in which it operates to support the debt financing package. Plus, there's the off-takers. Is very conventional now. People who want offtake are prepared to make prepayments on the offtake agreement. So we have a whole variety of financing sources in the long term. There's also the green funds, the ESG funds, looking for home to put investment into projects that provide sustainable production to support this transition into the green energy economy. So long term, I think we're going to be in a very, very strong position. Now, people do ask, what about our current financial position? We've been very, very open. We raise money as and when we need to advance the projects. We did the secondary raise in November to allow us to undertake the drilling, which we've completed, get on with the scoping studies, environmental studies, and the board will continue to raise the necessary finance to keep the momentum going on our project development as we go forward. Then if we get into direct lithium extraction, again, we've discussed this before, and people say, but is this a new technology? It's not a new technology. Absorption of metal ions on resins and ion exchange has been used for decades. It's been used by Livent for lithium in Argentina for the last 20 years. I was using ion exchange for uranium 40 years ago. So the technology is exactly the same. What's been happening is it's being recently applied to lithium on a greater and greater scale. And why is it that this being done? Is because most areas of the world are becoming very conscious that they need to have sustainable supply of lithium. Now, what DLE does is we pump the brine from the underground aquifer. We then absorb the lithium on a specifically designed resin that absorbs the lithium, and then re-inject the brine back into the aquifer underground in a different position, so we don't dilute where we are extracting from. So there's no water loss from the aquifer. In contrast to the current production from evaporation ponds, where you pump the brine and evaporate all that water away, which is no longer environmentally sustainable. The lithium, when it's absorbed on the resin, it's then washed off the resin using pure water, and that solution of lithium is called eluate. It's then concentrated further using reverse osmosis, forward osmosis, until it's high enough concentration to then precipitate as lithium carbonate, and the water gets recycled back into the process. And the advantage of direct lithium extraction is not just low water consumption. From pumping the brine, it takes a couple of days to produce lithium carbonate and get cash flow, compared to the 18 months to 2 years, which is required for the evaporation ponds. The recovery of lithium from DLE is in the range of 80%, compared to the 40 to 45% from evaporation ponds. So it is technically very much more efficient.
I can pass it, Steve. There it is.
Yeah, I've been kicked out.
Oh, but I passed it. You're looking at the DLE developers and producers worldwide.
Yeah, no, I don't have it. I've been kicked out here.
Okay, well, this produces what shows. Yeah, this shows what you just mentioned. How it's becoming mainstream with many projects in various places going into DLE, and Livent and Sun Resin, who has 4 places. You're back.
I'm back on. Yeah, so this is a slide that shows a large number of direct lithium extraction projects around the world: United States, Argentina, Canada, Germany, UK, and there's a number of technology providers. The one name you'll see there is Sunres as the block on the left producers. Apart from Livent, there's 4 projects have all been brought into commercial production by Sunres. So even though there's a lot of developers out there, we believe that it's in the best interest of the company and will lead us to production faster by working with Sunres as the world's leading supplier of technology and resin.
Yep. Oh, Steve just went out. I'll keep going. So that's what he was mentioning, working with Sun Resin. He's the world leader, has 4 projects running. Not only that, he's unveiling other projects with Anson Resources, have completed the pre-feasibility study in Utah for 13,000 ton per year production. That was done by Hatch, the PFS, another prestigious firm, with one of the largest buses producers, a large Chinese firm, BYD. They have a demonstration plant. They're more importantly developing a project. Everything is being shipped to Argentina, waiting for the permits to construct up to 100,000 ton per year production with DLE in a project in Argentina. Another project also in Australia with Minmetals. It's the lithium comes out of there, but it's operating in China. We met, we've done testing with them in their Salta project. We've done here, we have a small scale pilot plant. Now we're installing, we've commissioned the larger one. Yeah, it's the largest resin manufacturer in the world. It's listed in Beijing Stock Exchange, has a big market cap. And overall, it's 12 projects who are installed. You can see at the bottom left, part of our installation and plant assembly. We'll keep updating the news as we construct or install everything that's been shipped, and the things, as Steve mentioned, forced osmosis, reverse osmosis, ionic exchange, and the other parts of the DLE component. Steve?
Okay, so to wrap up, I'm now back again. Just to reiterate the points we made at the front. Why CleanTech Lithium? We're going to be supplying green lithium into the European and United States markets with very low environmental footprint in terms of energy and water. Economics from the two scoping studies, excellent at the moment, $3 billion. We expect Francisco Basin following the next drilling season to increase that resource, and so we should be able to extend the life, the projected life of that project. We've got some very exciting exploration projects which have been assigned no value by the analysts yet in their forecast prices. So over the course of the next few years, apart from developing our two flagship projects, we'll look to see what that can bring to the company as well. From next year, when the pre-feasibility study is complete, that's when you can expect us to be entering into engagement with potential strategic partners and off-takers, and those discussions to be substantive. At the moment, we're meeting up, we've danced around with them, but we want to have solid information in our pocket before we start entering into serious negotiations with potential strategic partners. In Chile, we've been very, very pleased to see the response that we've had from the government and local community to us bringing DLE into the country. And in particular, the way we've gone about getting support from the local community, involving the local communities in our project at a very early stage, which is very important for the environmental permitting process. So that, I think, is why CleanTech Lithium. We've got a proven board that's done this before and many large projects, and have done it in Chile as well. So I think we've covered the presentation. We're open for questions.
Perfect.
Between Aldo and myself, how we answer those.
Yeah, we on purpose left a lot of time to answer, as we do always, all the questions. Steve, I don't know if you want to jump up in the questions we receive over the week, and an investor asking us is probably present here, Leo, to talk these points during our.
Okay, I've got the first one here, which is many questions in one. Yeah, I'm a long-term holder with approximately 1% of the company. From the information available, I see the following uncertainties and risks. Permitting, final terms and timeline. Will the government deliver on their promises and within a reasonable time frame? I think the issue, the government's only recently issued its national strategy as part of the development of what it wants to do with lithium. It's made significant changes in the Ministry of Mines. There's a new Minister of Mines. There's a new Secretary of Mines. NAMI has got a new management on board. They're all finding their feet. We do expect them to start processing our sale application. And the words from the government is they've understood from the mining industry in general the concern that the permitting process has been too extended. And in the discussions the minister has had and the president around the world in meetings with investors, is they are really going to be looking at how they can make their permitting procedures much more efficient and shorten the time frame, because the government needs to have these projects coming in and providing additional income and taxation for the country. So we expect them to be working hard at getting increasingly efficient.
Let me add something to that point, Steve. Again, we keep close contact with the government. The idea is to increase lithium production, to expand the private sector, just as in copper, from a state-owned company, Codelco. All the new projects came into place, especially those that Steve mentioned, and all the announced news and the work in the Congress and everything to speed up the permitting. The government finishes in 2026, and they have publicly announced, for example, in the Toronto Chile Day that me and Steve participated with the Ministry of Treasury, have 3 projects running and producing in 2026, and we're the ones closer to achieve that for the government. And that's why the government is speeding up processes, and we're keeping this close contact.
Yeah, then technical project risk. DLE is an excellent concept, and it must prove itself in Chile while maintaining the projected OPEX. All eggs in one basket. Is that a prudent strategy? Project risk, including delays to first production and cost overruns. Well, every project introduces new technology. We are introducing well-established technology into lithium. And when we say it's all eggs in one basket, the established way of gaining lithium in Chile using evaporation ponds, it's not tenable in the future. Now, with the aquifers with lower concentrations of brine, the only way those are going to be developed is using direct lithium extraction. And the onus is on us and with our technology partners, as it is on all the other projects around the world, is looking at how we can ensure that the DLE process becomes the world-leading process for extracting lithium from brines, not just in Chile, but in the rest of the world as well. So the reality is all eggs are in one basket. Now, we are using DLE in Chile because evaporation ponds is not tenable. Project risk, it's always there. There's always technical things you find out during your feasibility studies. At the end of the day, it goes back to the strength of your project team and having experienced people to undertake and manage the work in the project. And that's where we've got a strong board. We've been developing a strong operating team, and we are engaging world-leading consultants to undertake these technical studies with us. Now, we've been using Worley on the feasibility studies, been using Montgomery as an independent geologist. We're using Zelandes on the re-injection. We're using Ad Infinitum with many decades of experience in SQM on the metallurgical processing. So we intend to make sure that we have very strong technical contribution to these studies. Project finance, I discussed earlier. We're not necessarily looking at 1 billion. There's 2 projects of 450 million. They could come sequentially, or they could come shortly after each other. But I don't see the financing of that in the long term as a big issue. We will be getting into a position to bring on board a strategic partner, an offtake partner later in next year, when we are in the best position to do that and have finalized which is going to be the best strategic partner for the long-term development of the company. Cash in hand. Now, we put the interims out a month or so ago. We had just under 5 million pounds in cash. At at that time, and the board has always said, look, we are putting funding in place to match the requirements of our project development. And the last fundraise in November was for this year's project development program. We're looking at the program going into next year, and the board will determine what is the appropriate funding package and timing for that.
Yeah, there's another question. Thanks, Steve. The question is, there has been in the past political instability and corruption in South America. Will this affect how CleanTech operates? Chile country risk is comparable to those of European countries and developed countries. Chile itself is a developed country. You will never, ever offer money to a police or any source here. You will go into the court or into detention. We have 85 of the world's economy has free trade agreements with Chile with strict regulations. We've been credited sometimes in magazines like Forbes and Financial Times as the good house in a bad neighborhood. We hope that this political instability and corruption is not in all the countries that are nearby us. We have a very strong political system, independent central bank, independent various offices and institutions to oversee the government. We've been growing from a adjusted per capita income of some $4,000 in the 80s to between 25 and 30 in recent times, etc. It does not affect our CleanTech operates. We have plenty of assurance again of how we run things and how things are run. The money that Steve mentioned is tightly held in the UK. We have to do cash calls, approvals for fund release. The interims, again, you can look on our funding and strategy going forward. The next question is a very interesting one. Steve, are the projects in the top 5 by size worldwide? Definitely, but I don't know exactly our ranking. To give you an idea, Salar de Atacama, of course, it's very large and everything, but still has 4 to 5 times the production of our 2 places combined. It will be our 20,000 ton per year operation will be, each one will be, I don't know, 6 to 8 times smaller than that, but you're comparing to the largest salar of the world. That's why the government has viewed our projects as not being strategic. But they are very important because it shows an example of the low-hanging fruit or the easy win for the government to show their policy. Which number we are ranked, I don't know, but definitely in the top 50, more in the upper side of those. Again, Steve, going back to DLE.
On DLE, I say there's a lot of companies out there which are at the demonstration plant stage or the pilot plant stage. We're working with Sun Resin that has 12 projects, which are either 6 of them are in current production at commercial scale and 6 are in construction. So they are the leading developers of direct lithium extraction process, and they are an engineering company that does the engineering and construction to bring them into production. They're working, say, with one project in Argentina, Tibet Summit, when they shipped a 25,000 ton a year plant last year. They didn't go into construction immediately because the client, Tibet Summit, didn't have the environmental permits in place. They got those permits in place, and Tibet Summit have now increased that contract to do 2 50,000 ton a year plants. I think it's about $1.5 billion contract. So these companies like Sun Resin are very, very experienced at both fabricating the plant and putting it into construction.
So the next question is, I can answer it. The question is, we're moving 1 ton per month to what we have done before, the 1 kilo certified lithium carbonate higher than what is required that we've done in the past. That is coming from a small lab test work. It's the same multi-valve system that we have, but now, yeah, it's that's a big jump. 1 kilo that we produce so far to the 1 ton per month. The 1 kilo is important for the metallurgical process for the PFS stage, but we're updating it to a larger, and the plant is already being assembled and we've been received. I think this next question is about ASX.
We thought that getting a listing on ASX would be very good, because there's a great pool of capital and great experience in the mining sector, and in recent years in the lithium sector. So we would get a very good reception in Australia. I think we found that in putting all the documentation in for the listing, we found that the ASX regulatory function is completely swamped with a number of requests for listing. They've been losing a lot of their people into the private sector, and we're finding them very, very slow in responding to answers to questions. So the process is ongoing. We said we expected it by the third quarter. Obviously, it hasn't happened by the third quarter, but we're still in dialogue with the ASX and hoping that we can get this process as fast as possible. So yes, we still are intending to progress the ASX listing.
Yeah, there's a question here on our recent announcement, and we're just covering the presentation with the Salar de Atacama announcement. It says if we are positioning the company to be the first mover in strategic locations, given that CleanTech has already the first mover advantage outside the strategic locations, can we view this as a move to forge that the first full bore relationship under the new lithium strategy with the government? Has or is the company discussing the recent exploration license applications in Atacama directly with the government? Yes, the last part, we always have direct communication with the government. We've kept those conversations. We're just exploring. Of course, we're in a very important world-class salar, the most important salar of the world, both in reserves and in production. But we have to do our work. Our work is always study all the geological information, hydrological information, do the initial geophysics, and see what's the conductivity or resistivity of the subsurface aquifers, where are they, and then go on. And we have a tradition of being very serious and technical in our approach, and that's why the government respects us and the local authorities. That also involves talking to the indigenous community who we are engaging right now. So we don't know everything 100% what we have there. We know, it's the best place to be. And we'll talk with the government. It's a different conversation because it's a strategic place, but it's significant for the government to add players and more upside from the already existing production. Steve, how do unit costs for DLE compared to conventional mining? I touched at the OPEX at the beginning, but you.
It's very much less. I think you're looking at operating costs of the evaporation ponds, which use solar energy, about the sort of $3,500 a ton. Using DLE with purchased power, you're approaching higher $3,500 to $4,000 a ton. Conventional mining is very much more expensive. You look at hard rock mining in Australia. They produce a concentrate of about 5.5%. You then ship that concentrate to China with 94.5% waste. That then has to go through a conversion process to make lithium hydroxide, and then gets transported across the world. So the general costs in the hard rock mining, you're in the $6,000 a ton, so significantly higher than DLE.
Perfect. Aldo, Steve, thank you for that. And I think you have addressed all the questions from investors today. And of course, the company can review all questions submitted today and will publish those responses on the Investor Meet Company platform. But before we direct the investors to provide you with their feedback, which I know is particularly important to the company, Aldo, could I please ask you for a few closing comments?
Yeah, again, for our more detail of our strategy and going forward, you can look at the interims that we just outlined, where it's severely undervalued in our view and the view of the brokers stock to invest. we are thankful of the support. We're very thankful of the support of existing investors, how active they are, and also we welcome new investors. We're leading the way in many ways, and especially in Chile, where the most advanced projects to go into production. 4 projects, it's not easy to manage or run. We've proven with the board and with the technical team and the world-class consultants that we can deliver. So very excited times. Keep following us, and we'll keep announcing on the market what we're doing and how good things are coming up.
Perfect. Aldo, Steve, thank you once again for updating investors today. Could I please ask investors not to close this session, as you will now be automatically redirected to provide your feedback in order that the board can better understand your views and expectations. This will only take a few moments to complete, and I'm sure will be greatly valued by the company. On behalf of the management team of CLEANTECH Lithium PLC, we would like to thank you for attending today's presentation, and good afternoon to you all.
Thank you all. Have a great afternoon.
Thanks, everybody.